Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into something that is pretty much every homeowner's worst nightmare: water damage. We're going to break it all down and give you a clear guide to help protect your biggest investment. So, ask yourself this: what's the single biggest threat to your home? You probably think of things like fire, right? Or maybe a break-in. But the truth is, the most common, and a lot of times the most destructive threat, is something else entirely. Yeah, it's not the big, loud, dramatic disaster you see on TV. We're talking about a silent invader, one that just sort of seeps in completely unnoticed and then quietly causes an unbelievable amount of damage from the inside out. So how in the world are you supposed to spot this unseen enemy? Well, your first and honestly your best line of defense is just knowing the subtle warning signs. Let's get into it. You see something like this, and what's your first thought? Ugh. Time for a new coat of paint. But hold on, peeling paint is often the very first clue that moisture is actually trapped inside your walls, literally rotting the structure from within. And what about those beautiful hardwood floors? If you start to see them warp or buckle like this, that is a crystal clear sign. Your wood floors are basically acting like a giant sponge, just soaking up moisture from below and physically changing shape as they expand. Okay, now this is a sign you just cannot ignore. That damp, musty smell that you can't seem to track down, that's a massive red flag for hidden moisture. And the truly alarming part is that it often means mold has already started to grow, which, believe it or not, can start spreading in as little as 48 hours. And you know, these problems don't just happen in a vacuum. Where you live can seriously raise the stakes. We're talking about places with ancient plumbing, from the turn of the last century, or clay soils that are constantly pushing on your foundation, or even just those hot, sticky summers that create the perfect breeding ground for mold. All right, so let's say you found a problem. To actually fix it, you have to understand exactly what you're up against. Because let me tell you, not all water damage is created equal. You see, when the pros show up, they don't just see water, they see categories. Categories based on how contaminated that water is. This system is the industry standard, and understanding the difference is absolutely crucial for your home and for your health. Now take a close look at this, because this shows just how fast a small problem can become a dangerous one. What starts as clean Category 1 water, say from a burst pipe, can degrade into contaminated Category 2 water in just 24 hours as bacteria starts to grow. And Category 3 water, from a sewer backup or a flood, that's a serious biohazard from the second it touches your home. And that brings us to the single most critical factor in any water damage situation: time. The moment that water shows up, a clock starts ticking. You've got about 48 hours. This timeline shows you exactly why speed is everything. We're talking minutes before water is saturating everything. Within a day, things are swelling, and that clean water is turning nasty. And by that 48-hour mark, you've got mold, and your home's actual structure could be at risk. Waiting is literally the difference between a simple fix and a full-blown crisis. So the takeaway here is really simple. Getting professionals on site immediately isn't just a good idea, it's a financial necessity. Like it says right here, the cost to fix it right away is always less than what you'll pay later to deal with major structural damage and serious health problems. Always. So what happens when the pros get there? Let's take a look at the playbook they use to bring some order back to the chaos. A properly certified team follows a very precise 3-step plan. Step 1 is the emergency response. Figure out how bad it is and get all that standing water out. Step 2 is the crucial drying phase, with all the specialized gear. And only when the structure is completely, verifiably dry can they move to Step 3, putting it all back together. It's a system, and it works. Here's a great way to think about it. Remediation, that's the emergency surgery. It's all about stopping the bleeding and stabilizing the patient. In this case, your house. Restoration, that's the physical therapy. That's what rebuilds everything and gets your home back on its feet, just like it was before. So how do you actually know if the team you hired is qualified? This is so important. A lot of states, like Pennsylvania, for example, don't even require a special license for this kind of work. That means that IICRC certification isn't just some nice-to-have piece of paper. It is your only guarantee that the team knows what they're doing and will protect your property and your family's health. Okay, the emergency is over, the house is finally drying out, and now comes the question that every single homeowner dreads. Who is paying for all this? Right, the big question: is it covered? The answer: is complicated. Your typical policy loves sudden and accidental, like a pipe bursting. What it absolutely hates is gradual damage. That slow leak you never got around to fixing. And here's a huge one. Regular home insurance does not cover flooding from the outside. For that, you need a completely separate policy. And believe me, the financial stakes here are really high. In a state like Pennsylvania, the average insurance claim for water damage falls somewhere between $7,000 and $12,000. I mean, we are not talking about pocket change. This is exactly why you need to know what your policy says. Look, it all comes down to one critical piece of advice. The absolute worst time to find out what's in your insurance policy is after your basement is full of water. Knowing exactly what is and what is not covered before you ever need it is the single most powerful thing you can do to protect yourself. And that really leads us to one last crucial question. It goes way beyond just the repairs. It gets to the real heart of the issue. Because once the water's gone and the new drywall is up, the job still isn't done. Real safety isn't just about fixing the damage you can see. It's about finding and fixing the root cause, that faulty pipe, the crack in the foundation, the bad drainage, to make sure this never, ever happens again.